Hello, my name is Juan Verduzco Tovar. My project is titled Psychedelics and Religion. I want to start off by saying I don't condone the recreational use of psychedelics, as if you don't know what you're doing, things can go south pretty fast, so just don't do drugs. So an intro. So psychedelic substances have been used for religious ceremonies since as early as 5000 BCE, but now they're considered to be a Schedule 1 drug in the eyes of the DEA. Essentially, a Schedule 1 drug falls under two categories, which is high risk for abuse and it has no medical value, essentially putting psychedelic substances in the same rank as heroin and ecstasy. But regardless of that, we need to overlook the negative stigma psychedelics have gotten over the years from the war on drugs and see how they can be used as tools to study spirituality and consciousness. I will be going over how early Hinduism and Mesoamerican cultures use psychedelic substances in their religious ceremonies, and I will also go over how psychedelics play a role with spirituality. So, starting off with Mesoamerican religions with psychedelics, the use of psychedelic substances in religious ceremonies can be traced back to Mesoamerican civilizations such as the Mixtec, the Aztec, and even the Mayans by second-hand accounts of the Spanish historians. The Mixtec people had a polytheistic religion with multiple deities having reign over certain aspects of life, and one god the Mixtec would worship is Xochipilli, Lord Seven Flower, who was also worshipped by the Aztecs, and they didn't have any contact with each other. So it's kind of strange how the same god of plants, flowers, and the soul was depicted the same and was also had the same name as well. And if you see on the bottom left right there, you can see a little statue of the actual god, and his hands are placed like in a cup, like if it's holding a cup, but usually they would place psilocybin mushrooms on its hands and other psychoactive plants on its body and on that little temple that were native to the land. And as for the Mayans, a drink they would often use is called blanche. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but they would drink this during the ritual divination, and essentially they would go deep into these dark caves where they would make a drum circle and just build a bonfire in the middle and and just start chanting and start staring directly into the smoke. And the Mayan priests would drink this in order to enter an altered state of consciousness, in order to talk to the gods and turn themselves into personifications of corn and rain, which is very interesting. And they would also drink this during their ceremonies in order to predict futures about earthquakes, famine, war, crops, and essentially things they didn't really have knowledge about. But going on to Hinduism and psychedelics, I'm not going to be going over where their drug originated from, as it's believed to originate from Persia, but eventually it made its way to India. And the psychedelic drug I'm talking about is called soma. But soma was considered a drink for the gods and was also represented as the god of the moon. So there's a god called Soma, which is the god of the moon. And soma is also mentioned in the Vedas as a drink to immortality. And right now, it's still argued as to what's actually in the drink itself, but scholars are pretty certain that there's two kinds of soma, one with the blue water lily and one with the red water lily. And both of these two different somas represent different aspects of spirituality. But the blue water lily is said to only bloom at night and during a full moon secretes DMT, which is why they say Soma is the god of the moon, because apparently it's told that during full moons that it would secrete DMT, and this is where they would use this for their drinks. And also the red water lily is also represented as a god too. But yeah, this drink was mostly controlled and consumed in religious practices with their priests. And around 600 and 200 BCE, there's essentially a revolution that occurred where they rejected the use of soma from a priest in order to reach a higher state of consciousness, as the Hindus wanted to reach higher states of consciousness from within. And this is when like the Buddha started arising with like meditation and yoga. Even though yoga was always a thing in India, it became more prevalent around this time. And the way to get soma from within, which soma essentially is DMT, would be from the pineal gland. And if you look at a cross section of it, you can see it right there in the middle between the three pictures. Uh, it eerily looks like the eye of Ra, or what people call the third eye. And on the right would be the Shiva Linga, which people have speculations on what it's supposed to mean metaphorically, but it also does look like the pineal gland. But going on to psychedelics and spirituality, Religious experiences are unique to every individual, and contact with a god or a higher force feels uh, transcendent because you don't feel this every day on your day-to-day life. And people report feelings of euphoria, guilt, love, and forgiveness. But these altered states of consciousness can arise from like many different scenarios, whether you go to church and ask for forgiveness from your God, or you are joining a church for the first time and you truly feel the love and acceptance from everyone. Um, but all these mystical experiences are altered states of consciousness because you don't experience these on a day-to-day basis. But just like organic religious experiences, psychedelic substances have been recorded to cause similar hallucinations and feelings. And by hallucinations, I'm not saying that if anyone had a religious experience that it was just a hallucination. I'm just saying that hallucinations that are caused by psychedelic substances are similar to religious experiences. Um, but many accounts of religious psychedelic experiences share the same feelings of oneness with the universe, connection with God in the universe, and finding the meaning to life, which is also talked about by Hindus. But going on to a secondhand account, psychedelics and spirituality, just to get more personal. I'm not going to be mentioning my friend's name as he wanted to remain anonymous, but I've known him for almost a little bit over 10 years. I've known him since third grade. But essentially, you can call him a devout atheist, as he would always challenge the idea of a god. Any chance he had, he'd say God is dead and that religion is a scam. Um, yeah, he was just one of those people. But a while ago, he was in a dark place and he wasn't really happy. So he started reading a lot about spirituality and psychedelics and how they could help him be on a better path. So in the summer of 2019, he went to a cabin in Sequoia and took psilocybin mushrooms. Like I said, I would not recommend this as he didn't even know what he was doing, and this could have gone real bad for him too. But it was actually the opposite of bad, because he did a full 180 on his spiritual beliefs. He no longer questioned the existence of a higher power or a god, essentially. Um, as he said that he died and realized all his wrongdoings, and a lot of people claim to have essentially death on psychedelics, but this is what is called as ego death. But he said that he realized all his wrongdoings and he felt connected to the universe and he felt love from a greater force. Um, but since then, he's had a positive outlook on life now. He's not devoted to one specific religion, but he does believe that there is a higher force out there that does control life. But overall, his psychedelic experience was pretty similar to a lot of organic religious experiences as well, where he felt oneness with the universe or at peace and felt love from the actual higher force out there. I also wanted to clarify what DMT actually is, as I didn't go over it earlier. But DMT is dimethyltryptamine, and it is believed to be secreted from the pineal gland, although it's not for certain. Um, Lots of people do believe that it is secreted there. And DMT is essentially a chemical molecule that is found in psilocybin mushrooms, LSD, and ayahuasca, and is considered to be the most psychoactive or the most powerful psychedelic drug there is. But if you want to know more about DMT, there's a book out there called The Spirit Molecule, which goes over near-death and mystical experiences. But if you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and thank you for listening.